The name of the game is self-improvement. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Emma Cownley. I'm a freelance copywriter and blogger, and today I'm going to be giving you 7 completely free ways you can improve your writing skills and also your business acumen. Some of these are things I do myself. In fact, I'm pretty sure all of these are things I do myself. Yeah, these are all things I do myself, so I can personally vouch for how good they are and how valuable they are, because not everything has to cost money. And as somebody that's incredibly tight-fisted when it comes to money, I wanted to give y'all some free options. So let's just get into it, shall we? The first way you can improve your writing skills for free is to join a writing group on Facebook. Now, I don't have Facebook personally, haven't had it for about over 10 years, I'm going to say, over 10 years. I am part of a Slack group instead, but it's kind of all swings and roundabouts in this case because what you're going to get from it is essentially the same. So joining a writing group on Facebook gives you your own community of writing colleagues, and people within these communities swap tips for ways of working, methods to use when writing, tools you can use. They also provide a sounding board for any queries or advice that you're looking for, critiquing each other's work, sharing work. It's all so incredibly valuable, not just to grow as a business person, but also to grow as a writer. Joining an online community of other freelancers has genuinely, hand on heart, helped me make more money as a freelance writer, has saved me so much fucking time in the long run with regard to how I do things and the processes I use. So get out there, find a group that speaks to you, find a community that you can join up with, and get yourself in there. Next one is super fucking easy and super fucking obvious, and that's just to do daily writing exercises. Now this can come in 2 formats or 2 flavours, if you will. So you can just find some basic run-of-the-mill, super simple writing exercises to challenge you every day. They can range from anything from 5 minutes to 15 minutes maybe, just to get you writing, get your brain into the mode. I've written a blog post with some fun ideas here, and I'll leave a link in the description below. So if you're curious, you can go away and have a look at that and maybe do some of the exercises I've suggested. One of them is favoured by George R.R. Martin himself. You could also work at honing a particular skill that you yourself find that you struggle with. I did this recently. Just before Christmas, I took a week to do a micro course on writing fascinations, and it was so good, and it was totally free. So I'll leave a link below. It's a micro course by Eddie Schlainer. I believe that's his name, Eddie Schlainer. Master Fascinations, the single most important copywriting skill, and it uses copyworking as a technique to really, like, the process of writing things out again and again and again to really ingrain the technique into your mind, and it genuinely works. And as I say, took me a week in and around the work I was doing, super easy, 100% free. Would recommend. I'll leave a link below, but as I said, if you find yourself struggling with any particular skill or aspect of the job, just do a little training course for free. I think that particular website has a few different options. So also, if you like reading books on the craft of writing, you might be able to find a couple of exercises in those. I think that Glenn Fisher's book, The Art of the Click, does have exercises in it. Again, I think they're copy working exercises, but super effective and excellent if you want to really hone those skills. Next up is another really fun one, and that is to get involved with a writing challenge on social media. A couple of note that I'm aware of are Write52, which is run by my pal Ed. I'll leave some links to where you can find him in the description box below. Basically, you write a brand new blog post every single week for 52 weeks. It's a challenge. You have to keep going. You can't really miss a week. That's part of the challenge. And a lot of people get involved, and Ed puts out a newsletter every week that collates all of the posts together so you can get an overview of what people have been doing as part of the project and maybe go off and read a little something. So if you're interested in that, you can find the details below. Also, 1 minute briefs on Twitter. You have 1 minute to come up with a creative response to a stimulus that is put out from the Twitter account. And there's a lot of interesting stuff comes out of that, but it's just a really great way to just knee-jerk reaction, creative response. What can you come up with in 1 minute? If you have any examples of your own of writing challenges that you'd like to share, stick it in the comments below. I'd love to see it. You can also choose to collect writing samples into a kind of secret stash or inspiration stash. I have one. I have hard copies and emails. Anytime I get an email and it made me click, or I love the subject line, or I went through it and thought, you are something else, I tuck it in a folder. And whenever I'm writing something and I think, oh fuck, I have something that's like this, or I was inspired by something that I saw, let me get it out, let me see how did they do this, what was the technique that they used. The more aware of print marketing and email marketing, or just copy in general, the more aware you are of when something has affected you and when you think it's good and why that works, the better you're going to be at writing for it. So this is kind of like a slow burn, a long-term situation where you're just collecting and stockpiling over time. It can get out of hand. I think mine is pretty out of hand by now. It's like, it's at least 7 or 8 years old, my collection, and growing. So, whoops. You can join Content Club UK on Twitter. This might be a little bit tricky if you're not from the United Kingdom, because it happens at 11 AM Greenwich Mean Time every Tuesday. But I mean, you can still join it. It just might be at an inconvenient time of day for you. Long story short, Content Club is a weekly meeting on Twitter using a hashtag. Every week is a different host, and the host will ask a series of 3 questions in tweet form, and you have to answer it. And basically it ends up being kind of 30 or 40 odd freelancers all weighing in on these different questions and topics. Oh god, the cat. No. You can get anything from between 15 to 40 different freelancers all weighing in on each of these 3 questions. And it's so interesting to see the kinds of responses that people give, the way that they do things, the advice that they have. There's so much I've learned. I think recently somebody asked a question about negotiating retainer contracts, and I have never had to do that. In all my 4-ish years of being a freelancer, I have never actively negotiated a retainer contract myself. So reading all of these responses and advice from other writers who are experienced at it was so valuable to me. Similarly, when people ask questions that has to do with your favourite tools for this or that, seeing the kinds of things that people rely on and how they like to use those tools, so good, and seriously saved me so much time. It's ridiculous. So do get involved. Turn up on a Tuesday at 11 AM GMT and use the hashtag to get involved with the chat. It's worth its weight in gold, which isn't saying much because Twitter doesn't weigh anything. Speaking of tools, I use a headline and an email subject line analyzer tool to check my work after I've done it. It's a free web. There are 2 different websites, one for headlines, one for subject lines, completely free, and it uses machine learning to figure out which email subject lines have been the most effective and why that might be. So when I've finished a draft and I've got a couple of subject line ideas jotted down, I'll systematically plug those into the analyzer to see how they score and in which specific areas they're falling down. Now I know what you're thinking. Using an analyzer is cheating. Yes and no. So over the course of my time using these tools to analyze the merit of my subject lines and headlines, I've come to understand what makes a best-in-class headline or subject line according to this specific machine learning algorithm. So I have internalized that knowledge, and often as I'm writing out my first draft, I remember, oh yeah, it's kind of better if you use this or that or whatever. Also, every client tone of voice is different and every email send list is different. So what causes one person to click according to the subject line analyzer might not be right for that client and the people that you are talking to within that sector. Final tip, start a mastermind group. I bang on about this a lot here on the channel, and if you're a regular viewer, you may have heard me talk about it before. In fact, in my most recent day in the life of a copywriter video, you got to meet them, albeit briefly. You got to meet them. So what is a mastermind group? It's basically a group of between 3 and 5 individuals who meet on a weekly or monthly basis to share the best thing that happened that month and the worst thing that happened that month in regard to their writing career or whatever. And everyone kind of gives feedback and has input into it and kind of helps you workshop through things, and also gives you a place to celebrate shit that you've really excelled at. There is actually a set in stone format for a mastermind group. I'll leave a link in the description box below for you so you can go away and see what that is. They're really helpful. So if you don't fancy joining a Facebook group, for example, join a mastermind group, start your own, get some writers together. And again, it's a place where you would share writing samples or pose professional questions or writing questions and get external feedback that from a perspective that you may not even have considered, which is so important. Again, especially if you're a freelancer and you work alone and you don't have that kind of support system of colleagues to lift you up or input into you. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. So I think that's us done. I think that's everything. If you have any tips for things that are free, that help improve writing skills, pop them in the comments below. I can't wait to see what you've got for me, quite frankly. And yeah, I'll see you back here again, same time, same place in 2 weeks for more Kiss My A's. Take care and peace out.